In this episode, we are back on this 2014 Toyota Prius that I only paid $2,500 for and was completely wrecked all along the side. Last episode, we were able to pull out this whole quarter panel because it was smashed in about 7 or 8 inches. We pulled that out with our new Vevor mobile frame machine that works very well. We used that frame machine to fix this along with my Toyota Tacoma that was wrecked in the front end. We were able to pull out all that damage too. It's been a really great machine. We've been able to do a lot more work on different kind of vehicles, mainly wrecked vehicles with. So I'm excited to see what else we can do with that machine and maybe get some more higher end cars in here, flip those for a profit. Who knows what the future has in store. But last episode, we got all this damage taken care of. We got the quarter panel swapped out with a new used one, both doors, the fender, and the back bumper, along with the tail light. We got all that swapped out and installed, and it all lines up very good. The body lines look awesome. There's still a little bit of work we need to do this before it's ready for paint, and that's mainly just the dents and everywhere we welded on this new quarter panel. So up here, we got a little bit of denting to pull out because I warped the panel when I was welding it on. Learned my lesson there, gotta take it a lot slower. And hopefully when we pull out this little bit of warping, it will pull this door gap out and make it a little bit more cohesive along the whole way. You can see it gets a little bit smaller up here, so I wanna try to pull that out and make the gap a little bit more even all the way down it. So we got that to fix along with a little bit of dings on this quarter panel from when we removed it. Just a little bit around this wheel well. This back bumper has a little dent that we need to heat up and try to get out. Fix that up. Same thing down here where we welded on this quarter panel. We need that all fixed. One other major dent on this, which is right down here on this rocker panel. That needs to be pulled out and body filled. Fender is brand new, doesn't have any dents on it. The back door is in really good shape. This front door has a little dent right here that I'm gonna fix, but I have to pull off this vinyl to fix that. We got a little bit of body work to do, nothing too bad, and nothing that should take us that long to fix. The plan is to have this thing fixed and painted by the end of this video and ready to sell. That way we can do a whole breakdown of how much it costs to fix this whole thing, how much I've had into it, how much time I've had into it, and how much I think we can sell it for. So let's stop wasting time and get to work. A lot of dents to fix. Check it out, like nothing ever happened. I fixed the body line and it all looks really good now. Yeah, this body line just looks so much better. It's very cohesive all the way down. Got this dent pulled out from it being warped. Got all that pulled out. Got a little bit of body filler on there, smoothed it all out, and then I primed everything that I pretty much did body work to. A little bit of body work on the inside here, down below. Pretty much primed this whole quarter panel. Use some 2K primer, also called high build primer. And what high build primer does is it fills in those little kind of sand scratches or pinholes, whatever you might have on your car from doing all that body work. This primer covers all that and fills in those little holes. That way when you sand this back down again, it's completely smooth. Got the outside looking all good, got the inside right here looking good. A little bit of sanding work to do, some little bit of ripples in it. You can't even really tell where I welded in the seams. It all looks very good. And once the color all matches, it's gonna look awesome. Now that all that's done, we got the more technical side of stuff to do. Painting is not for everyone. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but what helps is having good products to paint with. A lot of my products I use are from eastwood.com, and that's what I'm gonna use for this because last time I used their base coat, it covered very well and looked awesome. I used it on my parents' Jeep, the yellow Jeep, and laid perfectly fine. It almost covered in one coat, which I was really impressed about. I used their primers, their base coats, and I even used their paint gun, which they sent me a new one. I'm excited to try out. So up next, we gotta paint this whole thing. Sounds kind of simple, but first we gotta take off the doors and the fender, get it all sanded down on the inside because I'm gonna be painting the door jambs, the back of the doors. Pretty much this whole half of the car has to be repainted. So the first thing we gotta do is take off these doors, sand down the door jambs, and repaint all that. Then we have to take apart the doors and paint the insides of the doors and then put it all back on the car and get the outside ready for paint. Same thing with the fenders and the back bumper. We gotta get all that painted too. A lot of sanding to do. If you know anything about me is I hate sanding. I hate recording sanding. So just know that I'm gonna be sanding a lot and I'm gonna be using around 600 grit sandpaper for most of this. All the primed areas, I'll probably go 320 and then I'll go up to 600. Yeah, that's pretty much all you need to know. A lot of sanding to do. Let's get the painting. Let's see if we can get this paint color to match and look good. Fender's on, both doors are on, they are not coming back off. All the body gaps are perfect, they all look really good, and once this thing is all one color, it's gonna look awesome. I'm really excited. Insides of the doors are both painted. We got the inside of the door trim along with the back sides of the doors all painted. It all looks good and it looks like the color matches really well. We won't be able to really see that until we actually butt up with the original paint. The only two places where that's gonna be noticeable are the fender to the hood and the fender to the bumper. Those are really gonna be the only places you notice if there's gonna be slight color change. Looking at the fender and the hood right now, since I painted the inside of the fender, you can see a little bit of the overspray and it looks really good. In the sun might be different, but in this lighting it looks really good, so we're just gonna send it and not do any kind of blending. If I was going to blend it, I would have to repaint this whole hood and bumper, and at that point you might as well paint the whole car because that's more than half of it. But the paint color from Eastwood looks like it's gonna match up very well, and it laid great. Like pretty much one coat covered everything. You may notice that I primed the fender, and that's the only thing I primed, and that is because it is a brand new fender. It comes in like an E-coating. It's called an E-coating. It's just like a black primer that you use for shipping. You don't want to put your base coat over that. You want to add a primer first and then add your base coat. The rest of these doors are in good shape. They already have primer on it previously, and the paint on top is in good shape, so I'm just gonna go ahead and send it with the actual color. And since this color covers so well, we're not gonna have to add any kind of primer. On the inside of the doors, I put the base coat. Put 2 coats of base coat and 1 coat of clear. The only reason I put 1 coat of clear instead of 2 or 3 is because it doesn't see direct sunlight, so there's really no need for a bunch of extra clear. It all turned out really well, laid really smooth. We're good to go. We'll put these doors back together once it's painted. I did notice one dent on this door that I didn't notice before, so I'm gonna go ahead and fix that before I paint it. It's just a really tiny dent, so it's not gonna take that much work. Also need to get rid of the rest of this vinyl, and then we can sand it all down with some 600 grit. Maybe do some 320 in the rough areas, but for the most part, this is all gonna be sanded down with 600 grit. Once it's all sanded, we can go ahead and prep the inside of the door panels. I wanna tape it all up that we're not getting overspray anywhere. It's a very professional paint job. So that's what's up next, a lot more sanding and then prepping and then painting. After that's all done, we can finally put it together and it would be a complete car again. This new paint gun I have is laying very smooth. It's making this thing go very quickly and look really good. We might not even have to buff it. Hopefully not. I don't like buffing either. All right, let's do it. It is complete, it is put back together, it is all painted, it is in perfect shape again. I haven't done anything with this major amount of body work, but I have done some smaller things like a fender and a hood and just like some smaller end stuff. But on this scale of a rebuild, it looks pretty perfect. Paint job turned out amazing, especially for it being a garage paint job. There's just a few little flaws in the paint job, which I'll show you, but that's to be expected in this environment. I'm doing all my work out of this garage. I'm sanding the car down, doing all the body work in here. So I clean it all out as best as I can before actually painting, but it's just pretty much impossible to do. This is not an actual paint shop. So keep that in mind, but for this paint job, it looks really awesome. See if I can point out a little bit of flaws. I had a tiny little run right here. You can see it sticking out a little bit. And there's just a couple other random dirt spots. There's one right here. Nothing too major, and if I were to cut and buff this thing, no one would ever even notice those flaws. Looking at the body gaps, the body lines, it all matches up perfectly. You can't even really tell where I spliced it in right here. I mean, I know where it is because that's where I did it, but you can't tell anywhere. I think it looks amazing. I am very proud of this. There's only one thing I would do differently. The aftermarket fender looks fine, fits up fine. I don't think anyone noticed it, but it was kind of a struggle to get that thing to line up properly, and that is because it's an aftermarket panel. I usually don't have that big of a problem with aftermarket panels, but that one seemed a little weird. So going back, I think I would try to find an OEM panel, but I made it work and it looks good, and I don't think anyone's gonna notice the flaws that I'm pointing out. I've been staring at it for a few weeks, so it just stands out to me. Moving on to the interior, I got it all detailed, vacuumed, cleaned up. I do need to put the front floor mats back in there, but I got it all cleaned up and it looks brand new in here. Got the seats cleaned and these door panels cleaned. They were in very rough shape. They were pretty gross. The whole thing in here was actually kind of gross, really dusty. After I got it all painted, I waited a day before I started putting it back together, and that took around 8 hours to put this thing back together, wash it, clean it all out, and get everything looking like it does right now. But that's not what you want to hear. You want to hear a price breakdown about this whole thing. Quick recap, this is a 2014 Toyota Prius C. It only has 23,000 miles on it, and it has a clean title. And that is the main reason I bought this, because buying salvage title vehicles is a big headache. Getting a rebuilt title for it is a huge hassle in itself. Plus, after all the work is done, you lose a lot of that profit because it is a salvage title. So having a clean title car ups your profit margin. You obviously want to inform the buyers that this has been in a wreck, but it still has a clean title. But from my own personal experience, having a rebuilt title car is very hard to sell, so that's why I avoid it. So price breakdown, I paid $2,500 for this car before all the work was done to it. Starting off with the body panels, the quarter panel and the bumper I bought from a junkyard and paid $530 for both of those. For the doors, they were $250 each, so $500 for the both of them. The front aftermarket fender was $103. The two taillights were $80. The replacement rim was $20 and the hubcaps were $50. That was pretty much all the outside stuff that I had to replace. The total price for that is $1,283. Quick tip to save money if you're rebuilding a car: call your local junkyards and check your local Facebook marketplace for people parting out cars. You can save a ton of money doing that instead of buying new parts. Not always. Used parts can be more expensive than new parts, but used parts usually fit up a lot better than new parts. Keep that in mind. Now time for the paint and body work. We needed a few extra things to replace that quarter panel with. We needed some panel bond to attach the quarter panel back on, along with some seam sealer. Panel bond was $45, the seam sealer was $15. Now onto the paint. I got this paint from Eastwood.com. It is the best matching paint I've ever had. I know they're a sponsor of my channel, but that is no lie. This is the best matching paint I've ever had, by far. The base coat for that, and I only used a quart of paint, was right around $200 for OEM paint, which is pretty much normal for any kind of paint shop selling you paint. And this was actually shipped right to your door, so you save a little time doing that. I got a big thing of reducer with that, so that reducer is gonna last me a lot longer. That costs $156, and in the clear coat, I use Nason Clear for pretty much everything. And a gallon of that is right around $125. So the total price for all the paint and bodywork stuff is a little bit more than $500. But that does not take into account some of the primer I used, along with some of the body filler I used. I already have all that stuff, so I didn't add it into the pricing. But if you were rebuilding this car, you would probably have to buy it. So maybe add on another couple extra $100. And then there was a couple extra things I bought, like some clips and then the radio and stuff. I ordered a new clip for this tail light because it's, if you can hear that, it's loose and there's a clip behind there that's missing. I had to order that special. Also the vinyl, I had to replace this vinyl right here because we painted underneath it. Little things like that, and that added up to around $211. And the new radio was a big part of that. So the total price to rebuild this thing was $2,035. And then the total overall price, Everything included is $4,535 to rebuild this thing. A 2014 Toyota Prius with 23,000 miles on it, you will not be able to find that for any kind of price near that. I've been checking my local Facebook marketplace, and the cheapest one I found was right around $6,000, and it had over 200,000 miles on it. So I think it's safe to say this is a really good deal. Kelley Blue Book lists this thing for right around $11,000. Obviously, I'm not going to get that for it because it does have crash history, but it's still a clean title. So I can ask, honestly, close to that and probably get it because of how nice this car is, how clean it is, and how low of miles it is. So let me know in the comments what you think of the overall rebuild, what you think I should ask for it, anything that you see that I could do differently. The last episode on this kind of blew up. It's a lot more views than I was expecting for a Toyota Prius. That's exciting, but it also comes with a lot of questions. A lot of people were really concerned with the whole title situation. I said it was a clean title, but a lot of people were confused about how it was a clean title. And the easiest answer to that is you don't report it to your insurance. Either the previous owner didn't report it to insurance or they didn't have insurance, so they just sold it as is because they weren't going to get anything for it. That's usually the main reason a wrecked car would still have a clean title, is if it doesn't get reported to insurance. There's a lot of other questions in my last episode that I'm forgetting, so if you have any more questions, leave them in the comments below and hopefully I can answer them, or some of my other subscribers can answer them. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have for you right now. If you have an Instagram and you want to follow me, you can check out my Instagram. I post behind the scenes on my story and also update everyone when I'm about to post a video. You can follow me there. If you're interested in this vehicle, I will be selling it here in the next few weeks. I want to drive it around, make sure it's working properly before I sell it. You can email me if you want to, or message me on Instagram. Probably going to be asking around $10,000 for it. Not really too sure yet. CarMax did offer me $10,500 for it, even with the accident history, so maybe I'll take that. I've never sold anything to CarMax before. I don't know. If I do that, I will keep you informed, and I'll update you on the comment section on if I sell this thing and how much I sell it for, so we can show the total price I made on this whole thing. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you on the next one. See what else we can buy to fix and flip and resell. Thanks for watching. Bye.